So I feel like I've spent the whole day just kind of thinking in my room, like, how can I preface this video? What can I say to tell you as the viewer, like, bro, listen to what I gotta say? And I feel like a perfect example that would give me authority in this position is giving y'all example of how I actually overcome my fear of missing out. So I want to tell y'all a story real quick. About 2 weeks ago, right? There was a mastermind event, and if you clicked on this video, overcoming your fear of missing out while you're on your journey of personal development. So either you're starting personal development, you're curious about it, you're in personal development, you're an entrepreneur like I am. Either way, this video is going to benefit you. So basically, 2 weeks ago, I got an opportunity to go out to Miami, Florida for a mastermind event. If you have no idea what a mastermind event is, it's kind of like a networking event where a lot of like-minded individuals, people that are on personal development, and people that are entrepreneurs doing the same exact thing that I am, meet up, network, and just share insights. And we listen to guys who have a lot more authority in the space that we're in. So very valuable event. And I was in that event were very high earners, very successful men that live in Miami, right? So everything my body was telling me, like, I have to go to this event. So it got announced 2 weeks ago, right? And the day after it got announced, I was in Charleston, South Carolina with my girl. And I was just like the whole day, like you could ask my girl, like I was just so anxious. Like I was like telling her, like my girlfriend's name's Berkeley. I was like, Berkeley, I have to go to this event. I have to go to this event. And like even while we were out shopping, we went to an H&M store in Charleston, right? And this girl was ringing me up and she was like, "You look so Miami." I'm Arab. I've never got a comment like that in my life. She came up to me saying, "You look so Miami." And I called my girl over. I was like, "Berkeley, do you hear what she just said?" She said, "You look so Miami." Again, I am Arab. Never in my 20 years have I got a comment like that. Anyways, so I was taking that as a sign of from God, like saying, Farris, this is your sign. Like, you gotta go out to Miami. Because my thing is, like, right now I'm 20 years old, entrepreneur, dropped out of college. Financial situation isn't desirable right now. Like, I'm in a financial burden. Like, in no way, shape, or form could I afford going down to Miami. So, like, in my head, I was just playing out the numbers. Like, how can I make this work? How can I make this work? So, end of the day, it was a Monday. The event got announced on Sunday. End of the day on Monday, they were going to raise the prices for the event. You have to commit to the event financially. Obviously, that's how it works. And I was just stressing. I was like, am I going to make these number works? And I didn't decide to go. I didn't think it was going to be ideal for me with my financial situation. And I was just so scared of like putting my head down in that pillow that night and like saying like I won't go out to experience that opportunity, because it was something that I was scared about a little bit. Like, I want to achieve my highest purpose, and I know putting myself in that situation, going out to Miami, going out in my comfort zone. Like, I live in Richmond, Virginia. It's not really the smallest city, but like it's small compared to a Miami. So like I knew I was missing out, and I knew that was a golden opportunity. So anyways, a week goes by, and at this point it is Wednesday. The event is happening Thursday. So Wednesday evening, I I sent out a post in our community group chat. So the mentorship that I'm a part of, that's who set up the event, right? So there's other students in that mentorship, and I sent out a post in the community saying like I'm upset I missed out on Miami, but I made up for it with a little. There's an Ed Milet event going on in Richmond. It's $25. I can afford that. It's in May. And Ed Milet is like a top podcaster in the US, personal development guru, really like credible guy. Look him up, Ed Milet. And I was excited about that. I was like, I sent out in the community. I was like, look, I'm bummed out about Miami. I couldn't make it work financially, but I got an opportunity to go out to an Ed Milet event. And basically, one of the OGs in the mentorship, the one of the students in the mentorship, right? He replied to my post and he was like, "Look, Farris, I get it. Like I just want to share like one of my stories, because he's an older guy. He has some experience being an entrepreneur." He was like, "Listen, these are opportunities that you won't get again. like really, really valuable stuff that you will not get again. And he said, I've been in your position before. I was telling him a little bit my position, like financially, I can't afford it. And he was like, listen, I've driven like hours upon hours going to Miami, not Miami, but like to events like this. I've slept on couches, went to motels, slept in bathtubs, I've pawned stuff, I've took out loans, and just telling me like there's levels of commitment to entrepreneurship, right? So after reading that, that really got in my head. I'm like, dude, I'm really gonna miss out on this event. Like I have, like, this is how I'm gonna level up as an entrepreneur. This is how I'm gonna get to that next step, is like committing. And I was just fear of missing out, you know? Like it was just really getting in my head. Like I felt out of body for a second because I was like, I have to make this work. So anyways, I call one of my close friends because I'm logically thinking at that point, I'm like, I can't afford a flight down there from Richmond to Miami. Can I take my car down there? 950 miles, 15-hour drive. Richmond, Virginia to Miami, Florida. I call my friend on the phone. I'm like, his name's Sal. I'm like, Sal, can I do this? He's like, yeah, Farris, your engine's pretty good. I drive a BMW 320i 2017. It's a very nice car. And I mean, it's a little bit older, so I was just making sure. I don't really know too much about cars, right? So he's like, you can do this, right? And this is the out of body experience, right? So a little bit of context. I've never grew up with religion in my life. My parents never really forced it on me. And recently I've been taking steps towards faith, developing faith and walking closer towards God every single day. And right now I'm not tied to any religion because I want to make an educated decision before I really commit myself to religion. And right now I'm just studying the Quran because that is part of my roots, and I want to study that first because that is naturally what I would gravitate towards culturally. So I'm studying the Quran, right? And Sal, he's a Muslim. He said, Farris, go to your bookshelf in your room, right? Bookshelf right there. I walk up into that bookshelf and I pull out the Quran. And Sal says, flip it to any page. I flip it to a random page, and the first sentence says, do not reject the messenger. The first sentence says, do not reject the messenger. And I'm like, Sal, do you hear that? Like, random page, right? Do not reject the messenger. In my mind, and what that meant is the messenger is that OG that replied to my post saying, I've pawned stuff, I've taken out loans to go to events like this, like, do not miss out. And I keep reading. Last sentence I read is, surely in this is a message. And on the phone, my friend Sal, he's like, Farris, you have to go. So he's talking to me. He's like, Farris, you gonna go? And at that point, I already clicked my ticket. I financed it over 18 months, which seems retarded without any context. But the value I got out of that event is way more than what I will ever pay, which is $1,100 for that event, financed over 18 months, and I paid nothing at the time. So worst case scenario happened. Drove 15 hours, and I'm gonna like speed this up because I don't want to be talking the whole video because I have an educational portion to it. But so worst case scenario happens. I leave my place in Richmond, Virginia at 4 a.m. I keep driving 15 hours, arrive to Miami at 8 p.m. And while I'm driving, plan A was sleeping in my car. I was cool with that. I had to sacrifice. I'm okay with that. Like, I've slept in my car before for girls, so shouldn't be too much different. But my girl, she calls me during the trip. She's like, Farris, I don't really think it's a good idea for you to sleep in your car. So she convinces me to get a motel. Cheapest motel in Miami was $30 a night. $130 over the course of 3 days. The second cheapest option was $830 for 3 days. So colossal price difference. And here's where the story gets bad, right? So I get to Miami, get stuck in traffic. First time seeing the Miami skyline, I'm like, holy shit, because I've seen nothing like it. I'm used to Richmond, right? Richmond is so small compared to Miami. And I get stuck in Brickell traffic, Miami traffic. I now know what that is. And I didn't know what Brickell was until I went to Miami. So Brickell is like, no one knows. If you don't know, Brickell is like the main street. Like everything's happening on Brickell, you know? All the Lambos, Ferraris, all that on Brickell. So I get to Brickell and I'm like freaking out because this is so like surreal to me, right? This is like actual life. And I keep driving, because like you can only get so much for this $30 hotel. So I keep driving and I'm looking around, get to like, I know cities well because I've lived in Richmond like 16 years of my life. I've been to other cities and I look around, I see like all these houses, like broken glass, doors busted into. I'm like, okay, this is not really the best area. And I see two girls walking down the street. I'm like, okay, okay, green flag, green flag. I look a little bit closer and they're hookers. So get to the motel. The receptionist window has bars on them. It has human trafficking signs on it and missing posters, couples. There were couples on their hotel room like arguing and shit. So like it's a place where like people hook up and shit, right? So the lady, the receptionist, she doesn't speak English really, and she tells me like, "Hey, do you want to see your suite before you go in? It's a 6-person dorm room." And I didn't realize I picked a 6-person dorm room. And again, like I'm like, okay, $30 a night, I can make it work, right? Like worst case scenario, that is the worst case scenario. And there's already 2 people in there. I get in the room. She shows me the room. The room, there's already two people in there. The room is pitch black. One dude, when he turns on the light, one dude is walking around with an oxygen tank. Obviously, he has health issues. He's a little bit older. And the other guy, he is just sitting on the top bunk 2 feet away from my face, staring into my soul. And this is the only guy that I assume spoke English at that point, black guy, American. And I'm talking to him, like trying to like feel it out a little bit, right? I'm like, "What's up, bros? Everything good here?" And like he just keeps staring into my soul. And at that point, I'm freaking the fuck out. Like I'm literally shaking. I have videos where I was literally shaking in the video. So I step out. Receptionist helps other guests, and I call one of the guys on the team that set up the event, my mentorship group. One of the guys on the team, right? I call him. His name's Simon. I call him up. I'm like, "Dude, Simon, I'm freaking out." I told him the situation, run it down, and he's like, I'm like, "Simon, is there any, like, just tell me a good place in Miami I can park my car and like sleep for the night?" And he's like, "Bro, we have extra space on our couch." And he's like, "Just crash with us for the weekend, right?" So I drive down to his place, 2 miles away, 30-minute drive, Miami traffic. And it turns out to be the tallest building in Miami. The tallest building in Miami. 45 floors up is his apartment. And I'll show the skyline view that I took for the first time. And at that point, it was 9 p.m. I'd been up. I'd driven 15 hours, like beyond tired. And at that point, I'm just like freaking out. Like I'm still shaking from what had just happened. Like he could tell. And I'm just like so grateful that someone out of their own kindness of their heart like took me in like that. So worst case scenario happened, all of the motel shit happened, and I end up in the tallest building in Miami. And like when I get there, he's living with his brother, and like they're asking, "Are you hungry?" I mean, I was a little bit hungry, but I already had dinner, and they're like, "Let's just go out to eat." They take me to the nicest steakhouse on Brickell. They say, "Bro, just get whatever you want." Like I wasn't even that hungry, and I got a full steak, bro. Yeah, so worst case scenario happened, and if I didn't push myself through that pain, then I wouldn't have seen it out. And wrapping up this story, everything turns out so well. I stayed with them for the weekend. I learned so much from those two individuals because they're living in Miami. They're both young, and I asked them so many questions, learning insights from like successful entrepreneurs. And I go to the event, such a great event, networked with a lot of other guys, heard a lot of great speakers, took some good notes, and I just feel like I've grown as a man because of that pain that I pushed myself through. And it's a fact that there is no light without dark. So you have to push yourself through the pain to see what's on the other side. And I know I've been rambling in this video, and that was just the story of how it went through. The fear of missing out pushed me towards that worst case scenario. And I saw the light on the other side, and it turned out to be a best case scenario for me, staying in one of the tallest buildings in Miami with very successful guys that I took a lot of insights with, and I just like absorbed all that knowledge like a sponge throughout the weekend and collected those experiences with me. And as an entrepreneur, like that's what you want to do. You want to look for discomfort, you want to look for pain because that's areas where you grow. So that's my personal antidote transitioning into the educational piece. And yeah, man. Yeah. It was a great experience. And I wouldn't have been able to tell this story if I didn't push myself to that discomfort in the beginning. So I know that was quite the long intro, but I feel like I had to get that story off my chest before transitioning into the educational part of this video. So without further ado, let's just jump on my MacBook. All right, so this is the presentation that I have for y'all today. And a lot of value packed into this one, so I'm excited to get into it. And honestly, I wish I could just do this standing up because I'm so energetic about this topic. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, so I want to get straight into it. So I kind of created a 4-step proven framework towards overcoming fear and self-doubt. And like I said in the preface, like it's a sickness that most of us as men, we don't want to diagnose ourselves with. But like if you are a human, if you have a dick and balls, like 99% chance you've experienced fear and self-doubt and you still have it to this day. Because even though like I have such a strong mindset now at 20, I still deal with fear. I still deal with self-doubt and I still have to overcome some obstacles in my life. So I want to show you the 4-step proven framework towards overcoming that and how you can kind of weave your way through fear and self-doubt. And it's going to be really beneficial for you listening to this video. So I highly recommend you actually pause this video, get a notebook, get a pen, and actually take down notes. And I'm going to help you out for any type of information that you get that's new. If you ever get any new information, one, make it resonate to your situation, because I can say a broad ass analogy like something that happened in school. It's fairly broad, right? Like we most likely you went to school, right? So an analogy using a school example would probably resonate with you. But some analogies I might say, like something personal to me, is like I worked at a meal prep restaurant for literally 4 months. And that, if I use an example like that, it might not resonate with you, right? So anything that I give you, either analogy or just information, like make it resonate with you. That's how you get information to stick. So write down like the takeaway you had from that, and write down also an action step you can take towards the information I gave you. So that's a little cheat code I took towards note taking, because I always took like notes during high school, but like they would just be notes. Like I would never look at them again. I'd close up my notebook and literally none of the knowledge applied. Like 99% of the stuff that I learned in the public education school system, I still have not applied to this day. I'm talking a little bit fast, but I'm just fucking excited to get into this topic. So, the first thing that I want you to do is reframe the fear, right? Change your perspective towards it. So, instead of seeing fear as a roadblock, stop being soft, bro. Like, see it as an opportunity to grow. Like, think about it like this, right? How the fuck are you going to become a better man if you can't even overcome fear? Fear is what holds soft men at a comfortable life. So, the reason why I said that, right? Anytime you have fear, like you will be tested in situations in your life. Like, how are you going to overcome the situation? If it's something you run away from, like your mindset should be running towards fear. That's how you're going to grow as a man. And like, I personally don't want to live a comfortable life, because a comfortable life is a boring life. I don't want to live that. Like, I want to live my life out to the fullest. Not saying I want to do some dumb shit, but also I want to like, the thing that I fear most about life is not dying. It's not living out my life, right? So I actually want to push myself to experience and like actually be able to experience out this life. Go out, experience stuff, not run from fear, but run towards fear, because I know that's how I'm gonna grow as a man. So that's what I mean by that. And I wrote down some questions to make you kind of think about this, right? And this is like some action steps you can take. Like I said, like if you're note taking, you should be note taking right now. Again, if you are not note taking, go back to the start of this video and start taking notes. Write down what resonates with you, write down action steps. So I want you to ask this, right? In your specific example, right? What's the worst that could happen? 99% of the outcome is not going to be you dying. So go through with it. Like, I'm going to use this example, right? Just last week, I had an opportunity pop up and I made a YouTube video about this where I went down to Miami. I drove 15 hours from Richmond, Virginia, 950 miles down to the south, the very south of America, down to Miami for a mastermind opportunity where I had a lot of growth from. That's literally why I'm making this presentation, because fear and self doubt is very top of mind for me right now. So I probably wasn't gonna die. I mean, the chances were a little bit higher for me driving 950 miles one way. It was a little bit under 2,000 miles for the way back. I mean, chances of me dying were like fairly low, but like I went through with it, and it was that fear. Like fear is always going to be the loudest voice in your head, but what you should trust is your intuition. Like you are gonna know when your real voice in your head is talking, when it's saying like, dude, probably go through with it. Like you're gonna grow from this. And then you have the louder voice in your head saying like, fear, like don't run towards this. I'm scared. Like I don't want to do this. I want to stay comfortable. I want to stay right here. That's why I wake up at 4:15 every single day, right? And part of my morning routine, 4 steps of morning routine, which I've been doing consistently for months, and I post this on my Instagram, is that I do 32 ounces of water. I drink that. I journal out my thoughts. I do 50 push-ups outside, which in Virginia during the winter it was fucking brutal. That's maximum discomfort. I fear that because it's not my comfort zone. Last thing I want to do when I wake up at 4:15 a.m. is go outside in the freezing cold. I've done it in the snow before and actually do push-ups. And the last thing that I do is a cold shower. That shocks my mind and body and puts me in an elevated state, right? All of those things are very uncomfortable for me. They're not, bro. If I was living my life comfortable, right? I would be sleeping in till whenever the fuck. I wouldn't do that morning routine, but I know building discipline requires discomfort. That's why I push myself to wake up at 4:15 every single solitary day. That's why I do that cold shower every single solitary day. That's why I go outside and do those push-ups, right? So I'm not gonna fucking die after doing the push-ups. I'm not gonna fucking die when I do that cold shower, right? So go through with it. Stop running from fear. That's the last thing you want to do as a man, because think about it, bro. You're gonna live a comfortable life. Next thing, right? What's the best that could happen? You're gonna guarantee your growth. And even if you fuck up, let's say like you're in a big crowd, right? And you get called up to speak, or like you answer a question or some shit, like you get it wrong. You're in school, you raise your hand, you get it wrong. Worst thing that's gonna happen, you figure out the right answer. Like it's gonna be humiliating in the moment. Like that's just temporary pain. Most of the things you're gonna go through is temporary pain, but you're gonna grow from it. You're gonna learn the right answer, right? Last thing, right? How will I grow from this regardless of the outcome? Just like I said in that example, if you're in school and you raise your hand for a question that you feel like you were right about, like I've done this many times while I was in high school. I raised my hand for a question I thought I knew 100%, and I end up getting it wrong. And like people in class laugh at me a little bit, but I feel like embarrassed in the moment. That's temporary pain, but I wouldn't get the right answer if I didn't go through with that. So you should never think outcome based thoughts. I think that's a little bit contradicting towards the statement I just made, but I say just push past temporary pain, because that's how you should frame your mind towards anything. Everything you do is just going to be temporary pain. Again, unless a 99% chance you're going to lose your life, then just go through with it, right? And last thing I want you to think about, right? And really think about this. And again, this is never going to be motivational. Like, really, your mindset towards any situation event that pops up in your life, like, will this fucking matter in 10 years? But think about it like this: will the pain that I go through in this moment right now, will I still feel it in the next 10 years? More than likely not, bro. The best thing that's going to happen is you're going to grow from it, or at least you're going to have a story to tell. That 15-hour drive that I hit to Miami for that mastermind, it was painful as hell. You think I want to drive 15 hours in the car? Like, tell any sane person to drive 15 hours in the car. I guarantee they're not going to do it, because that is temporary pain that I probably, matter of fact, I'm going to have stories to tell in the future. I'm telling you right now, I'm using it as a teaching point, right? So reframe your mind towards fear. Change your perspective. That's number one. Two, use the 3-second rule. Now, I don't want you to like take this, write it down, like every time you like have a fearful event in your life, like I gotta use a 3-second rule. What I really want you to take away from this teaching point right here, number two, is just throw yourself into it, bro. Anytime you feel like I feel like scared to do this, that's when you like capitalize on that pain, right? That's when you capitalize on that fear because you know you're gonna grow from it. Throw yourself into it. The best thing you can do, right? And I'll tell you this little story, right? So when I went down to Miami, the mastermind event, right? And again, I go full depth into this story in another talk that I made. I think it's called the what is it? 15-hour drive to a $30 Miami experience, right? I posted this on my YouTube. It's like a raw talk that I made. And the story to it, right? The mastermind event was announced, just putting your perspective, right? It was like 2 weeks ago, right? And it was announced on Sunday. And 2 weeks go by and I didn't commit to it because in my mind, like I financially couldn't afford it, which like logically I could not financially afford to go down to Miami. Hence why I drove down to Miami is because it actually, the whole trip costed me, I believe it was $238, which I show off in the vlog that I'm going to be posting a little bit later. But in no way logically could I make it down to Miami. But the event was on Thursday, right? And again, I know whatever date you're watching this video, I just think about it like Thursday, right? The event was on Thursday, and I decided to go to Miami Wednesday night. I paid for my ticket to go, my ticket for the event, not the flight, because I drove down. I paid for my ticket to go to the event Wednesday night. I threw myself into it so that way I had no way of turning back. At 4 a.m. on Thursday, I left my house in Richmond, Virginia, and I drove down to the south of America, the very bottom of America, to Miami. I threw myself into it. And like while I was in the car, while I was already 6 hours into my drive, that's when I started having like fearful doubts. But guess what? The car was still moving forward. I mean, south. The car was still going there. Like I had really no choice. Like I already committed, right? So the thing is, like, and I don't really know too much. I put a Harvard study right here. I meant to change that. That's supposed to be a joke. But there is like a scientific study, right? If there's like a situation or event that pops into your mind for more than 3 to 5 seconds, your brain's gonna logically reason for you not to do it. That's why when the event was first announced, I had a whole day to think about the event, right? That's why I logically reasoned myself out of the event. But I knew like I could really grow from this event. I knew I could benefit from this event, this mastermind I went down to in Miami. So I didn't act on it because I gave myself time to think. But the thing is, like, this is a like if you know you can benefit from it. I'm not saying do some dumb shit, but if you know you can benefit from it, throw yourself into it, like commit to it, right? And obviously, like I said in this, like make a calculated decision. If it's not some dumb shit, then throw yourself into it. But understand that, and I've said this in this video, right? Understand that fear has a louder voice in your mind and will often talk over your intuition. The voice you want to hear in your head, and I promise I'm not sounding like a fucking crazy person, is your intuition. You know your true voice, bro. Like when the event was first announced for Miami, the first I kept thinking for like 5 minutes, right? In my head, I started thinking like, Farris, you have to go. You have to go to this event. You're gonna capitalize so much off this. You're gonna benefit from being around so many like-minded individuals. You're gonna benefit from being around some very, very wealthy earners living in Miami, Florida, on the tallest building in Miami. You're gonna benefit from this. Like that was my intuition telling me, like, Farris, you gotta go to this event. But I let fear logically reason me out of that event. So just realize, like, in moments where you're faced with a difficult decision, like fear is gonna have a louder voice in your mind. And you're gonna find this is a good point, right? And I'll relate this back to the Miami example. Again, I'm using this example only because it's so top of mind for me, and it has been like the reason why I'm making this video is because overcoming that Miami trip and getting myself to go down there has given me so much more confidence within my self-doubt within myself, or like overcome that self-doubt and also overcoming fear. Find some way of committing to act within the next 3 seconds, right? So you cannot physically turn back around. So example today, right? I sent a text to one of my boys saying like we should get a cabin out in the woods, like a little isolation trip just to focus on ourselves, focus like spend time with God. And I said like do that over the summer because he's out in college right now. And obviously I can't really commit to that right now. Like I can't really logically reason out of this. Like I have no money to do that cabin, right? But what I did do is I scheduled out a text for myself to send a text to myself in May when I can schedule out the event. So that's an action I took for a future event in 3 seconds, right? That's the way I committed. And going back to the Miami example, like I committed, I made that payment. The payment to go to the event was $1,000. That was my commitment to go. Like there was no way I was turning out because that would mean I'm losing $1,000. You know how bad it would be. Like I literally could not go to sleep if I was living with the fact that I paid $1,000 to an event that I didn't go to. That makes no sense. So commit to the event in some way or form, and you will go through with it. So you cannot physically turn back around. Me driving, me going 6 hours into that Miami drive, like, and already having, and that's when I first started having like fear and self doubt coming to my head. I physically could not turn back around. Like, why the fuck would I drive back 6 hours just to say like I got too scared and I dropped out? Why would I do that? Right. So number two, use a 3 second rule. Number three, this one's really good. Establish proof through reps. This is really how you build conviction within yourself, confidence within yourself. This is why I'm so passionate about this topic right now, is because I'm at like my peak of momentum towards fear and self-doubt because I hit that Miami trip. I overcame every fear, every voice of fear in my head, and every voice of self-doubt in my head. I overcame it, and I have momentum right now. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I can talk so freely about fear and self-doubt, is because it's so top of mind for me right now. So by stacking up little wins, you will literally eliminate fear and begin to reach self-actualization. Let me touch on this a little bit, right? So stacking up little wins, it can be as small as you saying like holding yourself to go to the gym at 5 a.m. the next morning. Your fear is that you're not going to be able to function throughout your day because you didn't get enough sleep, or you're too scared to go because, I don't know, waking up at 5 a.m. is a little bit scary. I I faced that at one point in my life, but now like I wake up at 4:15 so consistently, I'm not scared of that shit, right? And that's literally touching up on my next point. You literally eliminate fear by stacking up those little wins. Like again, you don't want to like start off saying you're gonna climb Mount Everest. You can't start at the top, the biggest thing. Just start off with little wins and stack those wins, because those little wins build up momentum. And once you catch momentum, brother, anything is possible for you to get through. And this is the last point, and this is going to touch on like literally take a note on this, on what I'm about to say right here. So self actualization, and this is how one of my mentors, Ed Milet, framed it. Self actualization is when you, whether you believe in God or not, whether you follow religion or not, just hear what I'm about to say, right? When you die and you are met with your creator, your God, right? And God shows you like his his vision of what your highest potential is. He shows you like on a little tablet or like a phone, right? He shows you this, Farris, this is what your highest potential is. This is where you are. This is where you live. This is your family. This was your net worth. This is how much you made. This is your car. This is your garage. All of this, your highest potential, right? This is the highest potential God set out for you. And a hell situation would be getting to that day where you die and God showing you your highest self. A hell situation would be you and that person are completely different. And a heaven situation would be you and that person are completely identical. And my literally my purpose in life is to reach self-actualization and just live out my highest purpose that God put me on this earth for. And I'll touch on this for a second. Like I'm not, never in my life, in my childhood, had religion been forced on me, but recently I've been taking some steps towards faith and realizing like coming closer to God every day. Whether you grew up following a religion, whether you grew up following or being faithful, like have this resonate with you. Or if you were like me, like you grew up and you didn't know anything about religion, like still let this resonate with you, because as a man, as a human being, you should want to reach your highest potential, because that is what living is. You're setting out for your highest self. I believe that should be like part of everyone's purpose on this earth, is to reach your highest self. So that's what I mean by self actualization. The only way you can push past that is pushing past every fear and self doubt you have in your mind. And again, I'll touch up on this point. I'm going to read this out word for word. Fear is the loudest voice in your head, but the more you continue to rep the things that make you uncomfortable, you will begin to weaken your self doubt and fear. Once you see you can handle challenges, right? And again, starting off with little wins, little challenges, just stacking up your confidence. And once you catch the momentum, you will be unstoppable, right? And I said this previously, you don't have to climb Mount Everest at first, but to overcome fear can be as small as taking a shit in a public bathroom. I don't know what I was doing when I made this PowerPoint, but it's a good teaching point, honestly. Like, write this down, bro. Because before college, like, I used to be scared of taking shits in public bathroom. Can't believe I'm touching upon this point. I used to be scared of taking shits in public bathrooms, but honestly, the more I did it in college, and the fear I had in college was, I mean, it's a basic human need. Like, you have to shit, right? So I had to, when I was in college, like, I had to get comfortable with that because the fear of holding that in, like, I didn't want to be constipated. I didn't want to have health issues. That was the fear that I was being driven from to make me do something uncomfortable, right? Because most of the time, like humans, we will run from fear more than we will run from comfort, right? And the last thing I want to say about number three, which is again, establish proof through reps, which basically means build momentum, build consistently, is be consistent, right? Like anything you want to build as a skill, it has to be through action that is consistent. So you can't just like do one hard task a month and expect to overcome fear and self-doubt. But the thing is, like, you can stack it up consistently. Like everything you overcome doesn't have to be like bigger than the next, right? It just has to be consistent. And the last thing I want to give you is have someone hold you accountable if you lack integrity. Me as a man, like I have built up my integrity so well, like I rarely have to have accountability partners at first, but you can't replicate what I do right now in my daily life because I've built such strong integrity within myself. But when I first started off, like I had an accountability partner in my first business. I had a friend that lived in Dubai. We would do calls on Sunday, every single Sunday, and we would just have accountability meetings. We called it accountability meetings. We would go through what we did well in our week and what we didn't do well and how we can grow from it. And like he would ask me, like, Farris, did you do XYZ this week? And I say, like, okay, I did this, but I didn't do this. He's like, okay, like it's a form of accountability, right? So right now I don't really lack integrity at all. And let me define integrity for anyone who doesn't know. Integrity is holding a promise to yourself when no one else is looking. So that's like you telling yourself that you're going to go to the gym tomorrow at 5 a.m. and no one else is watching when you hit snooze on your alarm at 5 a.m. But you having integrity was hitting or not hitting snooze on that alarm and actually getting up and go to the gym, right? So that's number three. Last thing I want to say, and I'll make this quick because I've been rambling for 22 minutes now, is you should rewire the reward system. Not you should, you have to rewire the reward system. You can't think of fear as fear and be fearful of holy shit, I don't know what I did there. I think that makes sense, does it not? You can't be fearful of fear. That really didn't make sense. You can't fear fear, right? You have to run towards it. You have to rewire your brain to think that fear equals growth, not pain. Like, think about it like this: it is always going to be temporary pain in the moment that you will not remember in. Hold on. You will not remember in 10 years. Like, more than likely, I won't remember how my feet, how my legs felt in that 15-hour car ride to Miami in 10 years. Like, that's not going to be with me. The stories that I will be able to tell will still be with me, though. That's what I mean by that. So rewire the reward system. And let me touch on this, right? Fear will psychologically trigger avoidance because we associate it with pain or failure. So turn it into a game. Example: do something you enjoy after pushing yourself to discomfort, like going out for Arby's beef and cheddar with curly fries. When I came back from Miami, in total, I had driven over 30 hours that weekend. I did something I wanted. I really, 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 really like Arby's. So I went out to get Arby's. I got a beef and cheddar and I got some curly fries, and that was my little reward. I pushed myself to discomfort. I pushed myself to fear, something that I had no confidence within myself, which was driving. I could drive 15 hours, but like that event was scary to me. Going to a big city like Miami was scary to me. Meeting
like 40 plus people that I've never spoke to before was scary to me. So because I pushed myself to discomfort, I rewarded myself. And anytime I have something in my head saying like, Farris, I'm kind of scared about doing this, I tell myself, okay, I commit to it at first. I'm like, I'll throw myself in there so I don't really think too much about it and I don't logically reason myself out of it. And I actually just jumped there with it. So yeah, it's fucking stupid, especially the example I used, which was an Arby's beef and cheddar. Insert your favorite fast food example. But I really like Arby's. I know it's weird, but it's stupid. But over time, you'll start to associate fear with excitement and dopamine and growth. And that's exactly the mindset that you want to be in, because anytime I have fear within an event that I have, within a situation that I put myself in, like I realize I'm going to grow from it. For example, this morning I ran 16.5 miles. Before today, which is Sunday, March 30th, the longest that I ran was 13.1 miles. When I crossed 13.1 miles psychologically, I was like, Farris, what are you doing? Like, dude, you can't keep running. Like, I was like trying to logically reason myself out of it because that was my limit to it. But I started creating a reward in my head. When I got back home, I made a nice grass-fed ribeye with chimichurri, sweet potato fries, fruit. What else did I make? Eggs, and then I had pancakes and ice cream. That is the reward I got for running 16.5 miles. So just make it a game, and it makes life a lot more easier. If you can understand what I'm telling you in this video, bro, I promise you're going to be a fucking killer. And especially if you were like, I really hope this video hits someone that is younger than me, because I wish I knew this stuff when I was younger. I'd be on so many more levels than I am right now, but everything happens for a reason. I'm so grateful for the place that I'm in right now. If you do not follow me on Instagram, I post my daily life, not really like that, but like I post like kind of what like learning lessons throughout my day in real time, and like you can keep up with me like that. So I have the link in the description of this video, but bro, you're doing yourself a favor if you watch this far into this video, especially if you took notes as well. But other than that, I feel like this video packed a lot of information. Rewatch it if you need to, take notes and apply it. Knowledge is not anything if it is not applied. So other than that, boys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.